dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that a flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. You may be seated. Of course, no one stands alone in this life, and Mr. McNiece has been blessed to have a wonderful family and a wonderful wife, Martha. We would like to recognize you, Martha, and thank you. And if all of the members of any members of Mr. McNiece's family, if you could just make a sign or stand. Thank you for coming. Thank you. I would also like to recognize Andy Vanderplatz from Fort Myers, Florida, who has been instrumental in bringing about today's occasion. Andy, thank you so much for being here. And by the way, Andy has prepared a wonderful photo book from World War II that will be on display at the reception following the reception. I'd also like to recognize Mr. Phil Waltz and the Patriot Patrol, a veterans organization here today. They served with the flags in the hallway that you saw displayed as you entered the Blue Room today. I'd also like to recognize the members of the Liberty Jump Team. And finally, anyone who has served his or her country in uniform in one of the branches of the armed services, would you please stand so that we can recognize you and show our appreciation? Thank you for your service. I would now like to introduce Senator Eddie Fields, who represents the district that Mr. McNiece lives in. Senator Fields.
It's an honor and a privilege to present this citation of Mr. McNiece. Sergeant McNiece, my great uncle served in the European campaign under Eisenhower in World War II, so this means a lot to me. So, whereas JakeMcNiece of Ponca City, Oklahoma, is being honored in a special ceremony on September 26, 2012, in the Governor's Blue Room at the state capitol as he received the French Legion of Honor for his heroic service during World War II. And whereas Jack McNiece volunteered in the U.S. Army for paratrooper duty on September 1st, 1942, is most certainly a hero for his courage both on and off the battlefield, serving as a member of the 101st Airborne Headquarters Jumping of the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, including his jump into the trance early on the morning of June 6th. And whereas the Oklahoma State Legislature, acting on behalf of the citizens of Oklahoma, hereby commands Sergeant Jake McNiece for his heroic service to his country, above and beyond the call of duty.
Thank you, Senator Fields. Mr. McNiece, I also have a citation from Representative Steve Vaughn from your district, represents you in your district. He's sorry he was not able to be here today, but I will present you with that citation following the ceremony. Also, Attorney General Scott Pruitt also sends his regards, and I have a letter congratulating you from Attorney General Pruitt, which I will also present to you following the ceremony. We thank both Representative Vaughn and Attorney General Pruitt. I would now like to introduce Ms. Brianna Dominic, Field Representative of the Honorable Frank Lucas of the U.S. House of Representatives.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Congressman Lucas regrets that he could not be here, but I would like to read a letter to you on behalf of him. Sergeant McNiece, it is with great admiration I congratulate you on being awarded the Medal of Chevalier in the French National Order of the Legion of Honor. Your service with the 101st Airborne Division of the United States Army during World War II is an excellent example of heroism. The multiple paratrooper missions you executed beginning with the invasion of Normandy is nothing short of inspiring. You have been honored and recognized with numerous medals for your service. I am pleased you will now add the French government's highest decoration to your collection. The state of Oklahoma is blessed to have a citizen like you. Again, I want to congratulate you on being awarded this great honor. Sincerely, Frank P. Lucas, Member of Congress.
I would now like to introduce Mr. Craig Smith, Field Representative of the Honorable Tom Coburn of the U.S. Senate.
Good morning and thank you. Welcome to family, friends, patriots. On behalf of Dr. Tom Coburn, I'm very thankful and honored to be here today. Mr. McNiece, I'm writing to congratulate you on being awarded the prestigious and honorable Medal of the Knight in the French Order of the Legion of Honor. Your service to your country and extraordinary bravery as a member of the 101st Airborne during World War II will continue to be remembered and revered throughout our nation's history. The ability to lead others in the fight for freedom during times of unparalleled danger is a truly remarkable quality, and it is an example of leadership that we should all follow. You should be proud of the impact you've made on those around you, the legacy of courage you have left, and the example of leadership you have provided to future leaders is inspirational. I'm honored to be among the many voices to congratulate you on this very special day. Signed, Senator Tom Coburn.
I would now like to recognize Mr. Cale Walker, Field Representative of the Honorable Jim Inhofe, U.S. Senator.
Good morning. Mr. McNiece, congratulations on receiving the French Legion of Honor Award for your service to the United States of America and its allies in World War II. I admire your humility while speaking of yourself in regard to your military accomplishments, but you and your fellow soldiers, as known as the Filthy 13, were some of the finest our country has seen. Paratrooping behind enemy lines to take care of business was no small feat, and you are certainly worthy of this prestigious award. I'm sorry that I cannot be here today to shake your hand. We appreciate your insightful leadership and your command of the rough and rebellious volunteer soldiers who handled what were considered suicide missions in a winning war for freedom. Thank you for your service. God bless you. Sincerely, Jim Inhofe, United States Senator.
I would now like to introduce Mr. Travis Brower, representing Governor Mary Fowler.
Good morning. Governor Fallon sincerely regrets that she couldn't be here today, and I am honored and privileged to be presenting on her behalf today. So let me read you this commendation that she has for you. Governor's commendation is hereby presented to Mr. JakeMcNiece in recognition of being awarded the French Legion of Honor for all of your heroic actions and successes in battle during World War II in Europe, which contributed to the Allied victory. Adding this honor to your long and distinguished list of awards truly makes you a living legend as well as a national treasure. The state of Oklahoma is very proud to claim you as one of our own. We thank you for your service and congratulate you for this honor.
Would you now please stand for the singing of the French national anthem, as sung by Ms. Kathleen Dugas, vocal music student, Wanda Bass School of Music, Oklahoma City University.
Allons enfants de la patrie, le jour de gloire est arrivé. Contre nous de la tyrannie, l'étendard sanglant élevé, l'étendard sanglant élevé. Entendez-vous dans les campagnes mugir ces féroces soldats? Ils viennent jusque dans nos pas, égorger nos fils, nos compagnes. Aux armes, citoyens, formez vos bataillons, marchons, marchons, qu'un sang impur abreuve nos sillons. Aux armes, citoyens, formez vos bataillons, marchons, marchons, qu'un sang impur abreuve nos sillons.
Thank you. You may be seated. In August of 2011, Monsieur Frédéric Bontemps was named Consul General of France. Mr. Bontemps has a distinguished career in service to his country, both in occupying important positions in the French national government, as well as serving in France's diplomatic corps in posts in the Middle East and Africa. In September of 2011, he was assigned to the Houston Consulate, which covers French interests in Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Texas. Would you please join me in welcoming to Oklahoma the Honorable Frédéric Bontemps, Consul General of France.
Senator Field, Mr. McNiece, dear Grant,
distinguished guests, dear friends, thank you for being here on this meaningful day when I shall present James, also known as JakeMcNiece, with the Medal of the Legion of Honor, the most prestigious French national order. The history of the Legion of Honor stems back to 1802, after all French orders of chivalry were abolished during the French Revolution. Napoleon Bonaparte, who was then the first consul of the First French Republic, instituted a new order as a way to recognize merit, the National Order of the Legion of Honor. This was meant to reward civilians and soldiers, men and women, who had achieved great things in the service of France. Since its creation, the award has remained the highest, most prestigious decoration in France. A few years ago, France decided to follow a more active policy of awarding this medal to the American veterans of the Second World War. And, not surprisingly, a very significant part of the veterans were identified in the south of the United States, because this part of this country paid a very heavy toll during the Second World War, because Oklahoma has a long tradition of fighting for freedom and standing against tyranny, but also because the French-Oklahoman friendship has very deep historical roots. Of course, it all began with the French explorers who arrived in the 17th century. In 1682, Robert Cavelier, sieur de la Salle, came down the Mississippi River and claimed for the French King Louis the land that he named Louisiana, which included present Oklahoma. Fur trading coureurs des bois and French settlers built strong ties with the local Native Americans over time, and many towns in Oklahoma bear French names that go back to the States. The Choctaw tribe, in particular, has formed treaty with the French, who protected them against the British slave drivers at the time. This friendship proved invaluable during the First World War, when Choctaw soldiers served in the US military as the first Native American code talker, using the Choctaw language, an impossible code to decipher by the enemy. And today, as we are all gathered here to present officially the Legion of Honor Award to a veteran of the Second World War, it seemed very important to me to remember how close our two nations are and how deeply those ties run. Now, I would like to turn back to you, James McNiece. The reason for this gathering today is to declare you officially Chevalier de la Légion d'Honneur, Knight of the Legion of Honor. Knight. What a strange title to be worn in the 21st century. What does it mean to be a knight today? Ideas of horses and swords are very commonly associated with knights, but I think that even if horses are very common in Oklahoma, we don't see many knights. And in fact, I believe that being a knight refers to a very basic concept. A concept that has remained untouched for centuries. Receiving the title of knight means that you have demonstrated virtue, bravery, and strong commitment to a noble cause. And James McNiece, during the Second World War and the liberation of France, you displayed
these three concepts in the most commendable way. Your life during and since the war proved that knight is a rank to which you are entitled. I would like to remind everyone here in just a few words why France owes you so much, friends. Of course, it is impossible to summarize the experience of war in just a few sentences. So please forgive me if I leave out some essential parts. James, your life path has often been described as from Dust Bowl to Hitler's Eagle's Nest. You were born in Maysville, Oklahoma, on May 24th, 1919, last but one child in a family of 10 children. Your parents, Elihu and Rebecca, had immigrated from Arkansas. From your mother, you inherited Native American tribal blood. During the 30s, you moved to Ponca City, your own town ever since. In 1939, you graduated from Ponca City High School as class president and captain of the football team. You also worked for the fire department and became the main financial support for your parents and your younger sister. You enrolled in the U.S. Army as a trainee paratrooper on September 1st, 1942 in Little Rock, Arkansas. You successfully attended drum school and demolition saboteur instruction with 506 PIR. More training followed with the 101st Airborne Division, first in the US and later in England, where you soon became active sergeant of your demolition saboteur stick. For those who do not know what a stick is, it describes a small group of paratroopers jumping from the same plane towards the same objective. By then, you were well on the way of acquiring your reputation as a daredevil. You and your companions often rebelled against discipline and refused to wash or to clean your barracks. Your section, 30 men in all, was nicknamed the Filthy 13. It got you into trouble multiple times, but this did not affect you taking part in the most dangerous missions. On June the 5th, 1944, just on the eve of D-Day, you decided to shave your head in the Mohawk way, maybe in an attempt to recall your Native American ancestors by your side before the battle. Actually, in your biography, you gave a far less romantic explanation about wanting to avoid lies, but I will leave that to you. You also painted your face, and soon enough, the whole section looked like you. In any case, that night, you met the first of your 4 Second World War combat drums. This took place in Normandy, behind enemy lines, in support of D-Day's landing. You touched ground in absolute solitude, not a sound, not a human being around you. It took a couple of hours before you could assemble enough troopers to get organized for the assigned mission, which was to blow up bridges downstream from the main bridge over the Louvre River, and to keep the main bridge open for the advancing Allies. You successfully fought for several days and nights in order to protect the bridge from the enemy, but in the end, it was blown up by friendly fire. Things like that happened during the war. You and your handful of companions then rejoined the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, from which you had been isolated since landing. You went on to take part in the capture of Carentan, still in Normandy, and the push towards northern France. Your total D-Day combat mission lasted for 36 days. Your next contribution to the Second World War took place in Holland in September 1944 with when the 101st liberated Eindhoven zone and the surrounding towns. You and your men also helped engineers clear a path to the river through German minefields in order to rescue some 900 troops stuck in Arnhem, as recounted as in a bridge too far. After Holland, you volunteered for paratroop Pathfinder duty. You qualified for the coveted Pathfinder insignia and its top secret missions. Your next two combat jumps took you first to Bastogne in Belgium in December 1944, then to Prüm in Germany in February 45. On both occasions, under treacherous conditions, you were able to set up pathfinding equipment for aerial resupply of Allied troops. Before you could finally return home, you participated in the liberation of the German concentration camp at Landsberg. Last but not least was the fight to take Hitler's Eagle's Nest in Bavaria, where many of the SS and other Allied military units had retreated. Back to America in 1945, you worked first in the railroad and construction industry, and for 26 years with the Ponca City Federal Post Office, from where you retired as state treasurer. In 1949, you married your first wife, Rosita Vital, who had a teenage girl, Terry. Widowed in 1952, you met Martha Pym Wonders, whom you married on September the 4th, 1953. Martha, also widowed, had a young son, Alan. She gave you two additional children, Rebecca Sue and Jude. You raised the four of them, and you now have also 7 grandchildren. Since retirement, you have been active in helping your community, mainly older, low-income people, but also single-parent families going through difficult times. You regularly share your experience of the war by speaking at meetings for school students, civic and service clubs, reserve units, veterans organizations, and support groups. Your vivid and often humorous stories help your audience better understand the horrors of war and appreciate the meaning of freedom. Your country has already presented you with many awards, including a distinguished unit citation, the European American Middle East Theater Ribbon with 4 bronze service stars and 1 bronze arrowhead, the Bronze Star Medal, and 2 bronze oak leaf clusters. Today, JakeMcNiece, I have the honor to recognize the courage you displayed so many years ago, on a land that was so foreign to you, and yet for which you were prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice. In the name of the French people, I thank you for your personal contribution towards the liberation of my country. And I shall now proceed to the most official part of this ceremony and bestow upon you the Medal of the French Legion of Honor. And as it is customary, I will do it in French. If you could stand up. McNiece. Au nom du président de la République.
Let's get this on my her 59 years ago on Labor Day. She's been working me ever since. But I want to extend my thanks and my appreciation to the French ally we had. Great service they were in World War II. It was an honor to serve with them. War is hell. Most people don't know, but we had 350,000 young men and women killed in World War II, and 80,000 missing in action. You don't even know what happened to them. I want to thank every one of you for being here today and giving me this honor. But they were hundreds of other soldiers who were more deserving than I. I also want to thank each one of you, probably for still paying taxes on what I tore up over there. It is a great honor and pleasure to serve this nation and the things that they stand for. We hope that we will never see another great war like the one that we saw. We consider it an honor and a pleasure to serve this nation in that effect. We do not brag about winning the war, and we do not apologize. It was the thing that needed to be done, and we did it, and we're glad. We thank each one of you for the interest you've shown, and this is a great success, and I say it's very humbling, because I know there were many other soldiers that did the things that I did and more. So I thank you so very, very much. Even up on say.
Here we are at the final few minutes of the reception after the award ceremony. Very successful. Look forward to watching the full video of the event. The photo album that I put together to give to Jake and Martha. Beautiful, beautiful surroundings here under the rotunda. There's a copy of the doll that that was made in honor of Jake. And here's the display just to my left of Peter Plank and the demonstration team's display. Jake's awards box, shadow box, if you will, with all of his awards. And a copy of the painting that was commissioned showing Jake and the rest of the Filthy 13 as they got ready for their jump on D-Day night, the night of D-Day. Helmets and uniforms, all provided by Peter Plank.